Awesome. All right, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the TempWorks software hosted webinar, talking about transforming your candidate experience with texting, which will be presented by Pankaj Jindal, Maria Zekman of Sense, and our special guest, Sara Luchsinger with Seek Careers and Staffing, who's going to share an awesome testimonial about transitioning to Beyond, our web-based platform, and how Sense has been beneficial for their business. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sophia Montana. I'm the Strategic Alliances Manager here at TempWorks. I serve as a liaison between TempWorks and our partners, and it's my responsibility to ensure that we're all getting the most out of our software. And how do we do that? By partnering with some of the best partners in the staffing business, such as Sense. Today, we're going to highlight the Sense messaging tool and how it can help create retention and enhance your candidate experience. Now, before we get started and introduce our presenters, just a couple of housekeeping details to go over. First, I want to make note that this webinar is going to be recorded and will be available for our attendees within the next week. If you have any audio or video issues, please use the chat window and let us know so we can make sure that we get that sorted out. And if you have any questions during this presentation, you also may use the chat window to ask any questions, and we'll also leave plenty of time at the end to make sure those get answered. Just a quick recap of our agenda today. We're going to do a quick round of intros. Pankaj is going to dive into the partnership between TempWorks and Sense. Sara is going to share some of her experience of text recruiting in Sense. And then Mariah is going to wrap things up with a nice demo at the end. So let's get started. Let me introduce our presenters. From Seek Careers and Staffing, we have Sara Luchsinger, the VP of Organizational Development. Sara, can you just do a quick intro and say hello?
Hello, Sara Luchsinger from Seek Careers and Staffing. Excited to be here. Thanks, Sophia.
Awesome. From the Sense team, we have Pankaj, the co-founder. Pankaj, can you turn your camera on for me? Thank you.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking this time to learn a little bit more about Sense and our partnership with Seek as well as TempWorks. Excited to be here. My name is Pankaj, one of the founders of Sense. And before I started Sense, I ran staffing companies for 15 years. So very much come from your world and looking forward to a lively discussion today.
Awesome. And then Mariah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Maria, and I'm a senior solutions consultant here at Sense, and I'll be walking you through the product and answering any questions along with my awesome panelists.
Awesome. Pankaj, I'll hand the webinar over to you now.
Thank you, Sophia. Appreciate it. So, I'll get started for those of you who are not familiar with Sense, which I really hope are very few of you on this webinar, but I'll get started by giving you just a little quick primer about Sense. Like I said, we started the company about 6 years ago with the singular vision of being the first engagement platform that was designed specifically for the staffing industry. We've stayed really true to that mission. We today work with over 600 staffing companies of all shapes and sizes, but the proof of the product has been, in the fact that we today work with 6 of the top 10 the largest staffing companies in the US. These are multi-billion-dollar staffing firms that no doubt all of you have heard about. And then nearly a third of the largest staffing companies in the US. And when I say largest, these are all companies that SIA recognizes every year as companies with over $100 million in revenue. Along this journey, we've raised about $90 million from several blue chip investors like Accel, Google, and SoftBank. And we also recently completed our SOC 2 Type 2 certification, which tells you how seriously we take our customers' data and their privacy. Now, Sense's engagement platform is built on 3 different pillars: growth, where we talk about how do we add more candidates to the top of your funnel and help you make more placements; retention, which the idea there is how do we help you make more money from the people you already have, have them stay with you longer, increase their loyalty, increase your redeployment rate, so on and so forth. And finally, automation, which essentially brings you operational efficiencies. Can we make your recruiters, your salespeople 30, 40, 50% more productive? So those are the 3 pillars on which Sense stands. We're super proud of our partnership with TempWorks. We've been partners for a while, and this is just a small list of common customers that we have today. This is by no means the comprehensive list, but this will give you a sense of a lot of different kinds of companies that we are working with today, and a lot of different integrations that we have, essentially gone live with. So with that, Sara, I'm going to turn back to you. I know we got a short intro from you in the beginning, but I was hoping you can tell us a little bit more about yourself, your journey, and also fill us in a little bit about the company that you're representing, Seek Careers, as well. And with that, I'll pass that on to you.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here. My role at Seek is Vice President of Organizational Development, which is really kind of not the right title for what it is that I do. My job is about 80% technology, and I handle all of our tech stack. So any new addition, any enhancement, anything that we're doing technology-wise on the software part of things is all in my area. So Seek Careers and Staffing is a staffing company that has been around since 1971. So we're almost coming up on our 52nd anniversary, which, we're one of the oldest staffing companies in the nation. And, we're women-owned business, and we primarily place in light industrial, office, and skilled trades manufacturing.
Awesome, thank you. And I see that you've been a TempWorks customer for a long time, and thank you for being part of our journey as well.
Yeah, thank you.
So Sara, I want to use the first half of this webinar in essentially just learning from your experience and sharing that with our audience today. And before we sort of get into the details of the Sense integration with TempWorks or how Sense is working at Seek, can you just talk to us a little bit about your business challenges? I mean, what are some of the challenges you're seeing at Seek? What are some of the challenges you're seeing in the industry as in general? And I know a lot of those will resonate with our audience, but could we possibly start there?
Absolutely. So I think that everyone is feeling this right now, but we are feeling this huge shift in worker priorities. I think I even saw a news story on this morning on my local news, that workers are wanting different things. They have different expectations. And so they're looking not just for a job right now, they're looking for the total package. And that means that they want a meaningful job, they want lifestyle perks, they want different things. Their priorities have completely shifted. So we're also dealing with the fact that the number of unemployed people is at the same level as it was pre-pandemic, but we're also seeing a smaller number of people that are participating in the workforce. So unfortunately, we've lost over 875,000 people to COVID in this country. Baby boomers have been retiring early. 4.5 million women have dropped out of the workforce. So I think many people have looked at their careers and said, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I don't know if I want to pay for daycare and work. And, is it really worthwhile on a paycheck? So we've also realized that we can live comfortably on less. Now we've got inflation, but so that might be changing. So I think that's one of our the business challenges that we're facing right now. And I think it's also very difficult to compete with all the distractions that people have. So they're getting information inundated. We have so much information overload with our computer, with our smartphone, with our TV, with every app that we have, with just every single way that we consume information. There's always something new that's coming along. So it's really hard to actively keep your customers engaged.
Yeah, so I mean, that's awesome. But when you think about these business challenges, these shifting worker priorities, why did you think that automation was important to Seek? I mean, why and how did that become a solution to some of these challenges?
Primarily because I think it's very difficult to reach someone with one contact. And it is very costly for us to humanly contact people the number of times we need to reach them, to engage them. So I think we want to do everything that we can to let them know, to keep them knowing that we're here, sending them different messaging, but that's relevant to what they're looking for. And, just as someone might something that might be important to you could be a 401k program, but to someone else, it might be location of the job or the frequency with which they get paid. So we have different priorities, but we have to be able to keep our brand and our message consistent, on point. And one of the key ways I think to do that is to provide that messaging via automation, so that you don't have 100 people giving 100 different messages, and to reach out to the different generations in ways that they may respond to it. So I don't think that there is a one size fits all approach to reaching our workforce right now, since it spans, I mean, it can span up to 5 to 6 generations. Our CEO is 86 years old and our youngest employee, is in their teens. So
Right. Something you said resonated very much with me. I run a sales organization, and we actually teach this to our sales organization. Just to, there is a lot of science and studies around the fact that just to reach a prospect, you have to essentially touch them 14 to 15 times. Now, obviously, there will be those awesome people who will respond to you the very first time you send them an email, but on average, you have to stay in front of them 13, 14, 15 times during the course of a 30-day period for them to actually meaningfully engage with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Sara, moving on from, okay, so here are your business challenges. You thought of automation. And one of the other things you said was actually super helpful to me, which is consistency, because then you can send the exact same message to everybody. Now, I know that in your company, you use both sort of Sense Engage and Sense messaging. And I'll just take a second for anybody who's not familiar with Sense Engage. It's an automation platform. It allows you to essentially send out cadence-based workflows. So if somebody's starting in your company and here are 10 things that needs to happen, in a predefined fashion, you can absolutely automate that. And then this will happen for thousands of people in your company. And we call them journeys. So you obviously use Sense Engage and you use Sense messaging, and we'll talk about those, separately. But starting with Sense Engage, can you talk about what kind of automations, you just talked about why automation was important. So can you get deeper into what kind of automation / journeys are currently running at Seek and are currently active on Sense?
Absolutely. So right now we have 10 different journeys that are active right now. And we use them to engage not only our current workforce, so the employees that are currently working with us, those people get messages to know that we're still here, that we care. Since we can't see them every day, we want to be able to let them know that they're important to us and they're not just a number. So we share safety tips, we follow up with them on their jobs, making sure that they're happy. If they have any questions, letting them know about specific benefits and things, just like, when are you going to receive your first paycheck? You'll receive it, on this day. So we also want to remind people that they're starting a new job. We know that the show up rate and isn't always stellar in our industry. So anything we can do to help people more likely or be more likely to show up helps. And then we track our net promoter score, which we want to know if we are reaching people and we're making the impact. We want to know that our customer service is top notch and people will return to us again and again and again. That's a major kind of core tenet of our organization, is that our customer is number one. So we use that to keep track on that. And the last thing that we do is we've automated the very tedious process of getting people to send in resumes. When they send in resumes, our follow-up process. So from the time that resume comes in, we know that we only going to get half of those people are going to come through our doors and respond to, or not through our doors, but they're actually going to call us back. And then half of those people will show up from the ones that we schedule an interview. Half of those people will actually show up for the interview. And then we're looking at probably closer to, if we can get them to show up for the interview, we're probably 90% we're going to take a new job. So the less that we have to do that one-on-one, I think the more people we can reach and the more business we can build.
Yeah, I think what you were just explaining to me very much visualized as a sort of a pipeline or a funnel. And I talk about that quite a bit. I mean, we see that across a ton of our customers, that as a staffing firm, especially in the light industrial and commercial space, if you made 100 offers to people, which means you were done with the interview process, background checks, figuring out that they'll work for the amount of money you want them to work for, there are only still like 80 people who show up on their first day. And of the 80 people who show up, there are still going to be an even lesser number that finish that assignment and don't just leave in the middle. So one of the things that, engagement will help you do is just stay constantly in touch with those folks and know that if they have an issue before it becomes a festering problem, like if their commute is too much, or if they don't like a certain supervisor, or if they don't like a certain assignment, that you can find out before they just summarily leave your company. So super helpful. So Sara, maybe, and we are obviously very passionate about the ROI we drive for our customers. So you have all these journeys. What has that resulted into? I mean, what are some of the kind of results that you're seeing with Sense Engage? Which are these results or facets are important to your company?
So I think the biggest outcome for us was to be able to measure what our Net Promoter Score is. And that's, if you take your Net Promoter Score is on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you going to tell a friend or family member or refer someone to Seek? And those that measure their experience with us a 9 or a 10, minus the ones that score us 5 or less, becomes our Net Promoter Score. And so we've been hovering between 57 and 64. And this really helps measure our success because our employee customer is actually probably a little bit more important than our client customer at this point. And I hate to say that on a recording, but without them, we're not going to be able to find or help our clients grow. So it is really, really important to us to have that. So that's one of the main things. I think the second biggest outcome for us is just to save time for our recruiters. They are so overwhelmed with so many things. I mean, we have to ask so many more questions. We have to do so many additional screening because of COVID, and because when someone calls in sick, we can't just say, okay, they're calling in sick. Now we have to find out, is it COVID, is it not COVID, blah blah blah. So anything we can do to help them save time and do their job more efficiently and focus on building the business, I think has a huge impact on us. So we've really seen that a lot with our resume follow-up pieces. It just is, it's amazing how much time is not spent on all of that busy work and how much they can really just focus on the number of people that they're really actively engaging with.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would tell you, you probably know this already, but the industry average for staffing on NPS is about 20 or 21. So you guys are absolutely industry leading, because NPS close to 60 is almost unheard of. And then of course, this number, this is the kind of thing that, I live for, 2,700 influenced placements in 2021. And for our audience, that essentially means these are 2,700 people that Sense played a role in either reactivating from your database or moving them through the recruiting process or engaging with them, that ultimately became a hire. So you can obviously do your own math in how long do people work for you, what's your average gross margin, and that'll give you a good sense of very strict, hard dollar ROI that the product can help you realize. Sara, we got a quick question in the chat. I'm happy to throw it at you, but I'll take it as well if you want. It says, what is the difference between Column All and Sense? What's the advantage? So I don't know if you have any experience with Column All before, but if not, then I'm happy to take it.
I don't have any experience with Column All from the texting perspective. We only use Column All from a voice. So yeah, I'm going to turn that back to you then.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. That first of all, when you think about Column All from a calling solution, that's a voice solution. And you'll actually see some statistics from me later in this presentation that less than 10% of the people now pick up their phone. 90% of the time, you're just leaving people voice messages. More and more of our employee population is becoming a millennial, and millennials don't like to talk to people on the phone. They rather communicate with you on a short and sweet text message or a chat bot, something that they just feel like they can do at their own time and not when somebody else is calling them. And one of the other things you're going to see is Maria walk you through a number of different features And this isn't throwing shade at Column at all, but a number of different features from a text messaging standpoint that Column/Textamol doesn't have. I think they were mainly designed as a broadcast solution, just call a bunch of people or text a bunch of people at the same time. But Sense is super personalized. You will see how you can send a message to 1,000 people, but still reply individually to a single person exactly on their situation, and how that integrates back with TempWorks. So I know I'm partly answering your question, but we will 100% take this in a lot of detail as we go through the product demonstration. So, but that's a good segue into my next question, Sara, which is around Sense messaging. So we talked about Engage a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about how your team uses Sense messaging?
Our team uses Sense messaging. I don't know if they can live without it anymore. And I don't mean to say that as a sales pitch, it just really is true. They're using it as their main communication tool with employees. We can easily send information to them, whether it's a link to a map or whether it's assignment information. Our employees can send information to us. When this whole COVID thing started and we were actually closed to the public, we did remote we had remote status, so we use the virtual, or be able to look at digital IDs for the I-9 verification. Yep. And our messaging, was critical for people to be able to send that information to us if they didn't feel comfortable uploading it to our site. And just every test, doctor's note, all those things. But people like to message. I think it's just easy to get that information. And it's just been I don't know if I don't know why, but I think we're just so accustomed to using text messaging as a way to send information that it just is very effective.
Oh, and for good reason. You're going to see some stats here on why that is the preferred way of communication that people prefer now. And Sara, as a follow-up, I was going to ask you what your recruiters say about the product, but I think you you elegantly covered that. But maybe you have some insight around the integration of the product, the integration of messaging as a product. What was your experience around that?
Well, we decided to move over to Sense last year. The beginning of the year, our other provider, we kind of knew that they weren't supporting, they weren't growing, and we were looking for a new tool. And we had a secondary tool that is what Sense Engaged replaced. That was going away. So I have done several integrations with lots of different software companies, and it has always been kind of a struggle. And I think a lot of my colleagues on this webinar can relate to that. And I was anticipating that there would be quite a bit of struggle moving from a new platform, just because when you have change, there's struggle. And it was probably the easiest messaging integration, or the easiest integration that I've done with software since I have been working with integrations.
That's amazing. Please keep going. I was going to ask you, we talked about why automation is important, what you do with Engage and messaging, but when you were considering investing in a platform like Sense, why, and I'm sure you looked at other platforms, why did you end up choosing Sense?
Well, the biggest thing was I really wanted an all-in-one function. I mean, we have so many different, I guess the more times that you have, the more products that you have integrated, you can have a more robust tech stack, but you can also have a tech stack that can break a lot more times, because every integration is a potential break. So when we were looking at Sense, it fulfilled the needs of the primary needs that we were looking for, which is one, an affordable and effective messaging platform, and an engagement platform. So it was ease of use, one platform. The price point was, when we first looked at chatbots and AI technology, there's a huge high cost, and in staffing you don't have a lot of margin, so you have to be realistic on what you can afford. So I can't hire the number of people, well, you can't find them now either. So, but you can't hire the people at the cost of what it costs us for Sense messaging and Engage. So it automatic ROI right away was it saved us time, it saved us money. And it works in the background. So it's really low stress for our recruiters, because they don't have to do anything. It just does everything for them from the engaged standpoint.
Got it. No, awesome. Thank you so much for those, those words of wisdom. Sara, one of the things we wanted to talk about the messaging platform in detail today is because I know with our partner TempWorks, there are some other messaging providers that are discontinuing their services. So, that's going to be our segue into, why we wanted to concentrate today on messaging and show you a solution that we think is, far above and beyond what some of the other providers had today. But Sara, before I let you go, we got another question for you here that said, how did you identify the 10 journeys that you mentioned?
So, there was a couple of things we really wanted to do right off the bat, and that was engage people from the first day of their assignment through the 30th day. We found that most of our people dropped off somewhere between the 14th and 28th day of an assignment. So the first 2 weeks was critical for us to have more touch points, and the more touch points that we had with the employees, the more likely we thought that they could stay. At least, if we could double that time from 14 days to 28 days, obviously that's a win for our organization, for the company they're working at, and for them. But we really want to increase that. So that was one of the key of the things. The other thing was we spend so much time mining our database for candidates. We wanted to automate that so that people got regular messaging from us, but then also didn't have our recruiters tripping over each other. Because if you all are required to do so many calls per week, a lot of times those people are getting, some group may never get called, and other people get, calls here, there, and everywhere. So it really helped us, I think, our recruiters focus on the people that were in front of them that are actively engaged right now, instead of just trying to put something out there that didn't work. And then the rest of the journeys, we obviously want to reduce our risk. So a safety journey was important. The follow-up journeys on those resumes, we took a look at and said, what are the areas that we're spending time that isn't giving us the return on investment that we want? And one of those things was following up on resumes where people sent in their resume, but they were never really interested in working with Seek, or we didn't catch them at the right time. So in order to kind of play the odds, if we kind of drip messaging out to them over a period of time, maybe they didn't need us right at that moment because somebody else got to them when they got the resume in, but then we got them the next time that they needed us. So, or they could refer someone. So there was a number of different things. The one thing I will just say is that we chose to create a Sense focus group, which is users from across the organization in different roles, and say, what kind of messaging do you think would be really impactful for our employees? And then we have them go through and say, okay, what kind of messaging would you like to be sending to what group, how often, and what is the end result? And so we meet once a month just to talk about new ideas. And I know there's companies that have many more journeys than we have. So that's how Seek has developed their journeys, and the reason behind which ones we do.
That's a great answer. Thank you so much for taking us through that. I kind of feel like I will probably have to suggest this to a lot of our other customers to have focus groups. But Sara, I first of all wanted to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to share some of your experiences with us. If you wouldn't mind, please stay around with us. We are going to keep some time towards the end for Q&A, and I still see questions trickling in. So if there are more questions that we need to answer towards the end, we will do that. But feel free to go off video for the next 15-20 minutes if you like. Thank you so much. And then, I'll take one or two questions that just recently came up on the Q&A panel here. So the one question I got is, so I'm understanding that once developed, these journeys automatically go out on a set schedule. That is 100% accurate. The whole idea of a journey is you set it and forget it. You will work with our customer success team. They will literally build these journeys for you. So you almost act as a consultant. You kind of tell us your wish list and say, here are 20 processes I wish were automated. maybe welcoming every single person to your company with a video from the CEO, asking everybody for an NPS score, asking everybody for an exit interview, for a referral, asking everybody how their first day was, their seventh day was, reminding everybody to submit time cards. Anything that is a repetitive process within your company, you could automate that. It starts working automatically, and then you absolutely set it and forget it. And you set it and forget it for all your future employees as well, because we are dynamically integrated with TempWorks. So if you said every employee who is currently working with us needs to get this journey, then the 4 new people who are going to join next week will automatically get added to that journey. The 4 new people that are going to join the week after that will get automatically added to that journey. So yes, that is absolutely correct. There was also a second question around availability of our platform within Beyond and Enterprise. And Maria will talk a lot about that as we go through the demo. Short answer, works on both sides. Obviously, way more sophisticated on the Beyond side. And we would absolutely encourage everybody to, to move to that side of the offering that TempWorks has. But anyway, just to get a little bit into how messaging integrates with Sense and TempWorks, and how you can engage with candidates, thousands and hundreds of them, in a personalized fashion. I'll take you through a couple of quick slides just to give you a visual before Maria delves into a demo. So first of all, this is really the problem statement, right? This is what we're trying to solve. Candidates today are inundated. You know that they're absolutely the most precious commodity. There is a talent shortage. There is a famine of candidates, all these terms that I hear all day long. But the traditional forms of communication, I mean, they might still work a little bit, but they aren't effective anymore. Phone calls don't get picked up more than 10%. Emails don't get opened more than 20%. An average email response rate time is 90 minutes. And that's if you're lucky. I know I'm guilty of oftentimes responding to people after a day or two. But text messaging across the board has a 50% open rate. 90% of the messages are read within 3 minutes, and 90 seconds is the average time in which they're responded to. So, if there is anybody who's still a skeptic in our audience on whether text messaging is even important, hopefully that clears that for you. Hopefully everybody is a big believer in messaging. But let's talk about how we think we do that in a way more sophisticated fashion. So first of all, think of this as your Sense messaging cockpit. You are actually having a smart conversation with full context. So what does this mean? The first thing here talks about an events from Sense. So while you're sending somebody a text message, you're actually seeing right within that pane any automated message that might have gone to that individual. How does that help? Let's say you were reaching out to a candidate 4 months after you last talked to them. So you're probably about to start this message by saying, "Hey, John, sorry, it's been a while. I haven't kept in touch. I have a new question for you." But before you do that, you can see on the right-hand side that they probably got a message from you yesterday, because they're in an automated cadence to keep in touch. They're in an automated cadence that keeps in touch with them. You can literally look at that message there and say, instead of feeling sorry, I can now say, "Hey, I sent you a message yesterday, or sent you an email yesterday, but I had a quick question for you today. So sending that out via text." So it actually helps you be way smarter about how you're talking to people and have one integrated experience. Because all of this is integrated within messaging, we can prompt you to say, "Hey, this person's NPS score has dropped. This candidate is no longer as satisfied as they were before." So if that happens, you instantly can send them a message saying, "Hey, sorry to hear that. What went wrong? Can I set up some time to chat with you?" You can also get other pertinent information, like this person's actually ending their placement in 30 days, 45 days, 10 days, whatever might be your trigger. And as soon as you see that, you might want to send them a direct one-on-one text message and saying, "Hey, your placement's ending in 30 days. Can we set up some time to chat about the new job that I can offer you?" And then something that we do, which is really, really cool, is conversation context. As you are talking to these people, you will get a lot of context on what's happening with them. For example, somebody else from your team sent them a message. You will immediately see that in the conversation context and say, "Hey, Ali messaged this person from a different number." So you see here, Erin is the candidate and Ali is another recruiter in your team. This is not you, but it'll immediately tell you that, "Hey, Ali messaged Erin." You can view what that message was. You can see if Ali is already talking to this person about a different job. So these are just text messages, on steroids, if you will. But absolutely, you can use them for one-on-one messages, or 1 to 100, 1 to several hundreds if you like. And then what does it do for sort of recruiter and team efficiency? First of all, everything is available in a Chrome extension that sits right on top of TempWorks. So none of your recruiters, none of your salespeople are ever leaving the ATS. It 100% keeps them in their system of record. And we absolutely have a mobile app for when they're not working or when they're away from their desk. And both the Chrome extension and the mobile app are all encompassing, which means you can do every single function in both of them. You can manage your contacts, you can add people, delete people, add conversations, reply to conversations, and anything that you do is being written back into TempWorks in your notes section. So all the chat history is always stored with you. So if a recruiter were to suddenly leave your company tomorrow, they just don't take all these relationships with them. It's absolutely a part of your system of record. We can also sync tier sheets. So if you created a tier sheet for, here are my people for a picker packer job or a warehousing job or a Java developer job, those are the exact people that you put in a tier sheet who can keep getting these messages, and we will dynamically sync with it if you add or subtract people from the tier sheet. And then lastly, we absolutely support shared inboxes. So if you worked in a light industrial environment where your company had multiple branches, every branch has only 2 or 3 recruiters or 4 or 5 recruiters, they pretty much all work on the same positions together. You can have them all work out of one shared inbox. So hundreds of candidates could be sending you messages, and any one of the recruiters can reply to them and say, yep, your interview is on, your placement is on, this is when you start, and you're not tied to just one-to-one replies as well. And in the next slide, we just put this together, not for me to go through it and bore all of you, but maybe, this is your tier sheet. This is your sort of time to take a screenshot or just understand the depth of functionality that exists within our product. So this is a ton of different things that you can do with the messaging product. This is, again, not everything you can do, but these are a lot of things that we have our customers ask us. Can I create a custom list? Can I synchronize with the ATS? Can I create a broadcast list? Can people have opt-outs? Do you have templates? Do you have shared inboxes? So on and so forth. Can you schedule meetings? Which is another cool thing that Maria might show you guys. So as you are talking to somebody, if you get to a point in a chat, in a messaging discussion where you might feel like we need to set up a meeting with this person, you can literally write within the chat, send them a link that will open up your schedule, your calendar for them to schedule a meeting. So with that, I'm going to move this on to Maria to actually show you the platform and, essentially walk you through what this looks like in real life. But for the moment, I will also answer a couple of questions, that I got from the chat. So one question I got was, we have Ring Central and multifamily clients. Does Sense work with them or replace them? So we work with several customers who have Ring Central. They keep using Ring Central for their voice capabilities, but we will basically take over their messaging functionality. So we can absolutely do that. Will you ever come out with an extension for Firefox or other browsers? Interesting question. Honestly, we don't get this from a lot of our customers. We have over 600 customers today, so this hasn't really made it to the product wish list. But if this becomes a real need, we'll absolutely take a look at it. And I will continue answering a few more questions here in the chat window itself in order to give Maria some time to walk you through the platform. So Maria, with that, sorry for going a little bit over to you.
No problem. Can you? Okay, so what you're looking at here today should be very familiar. This is the Beyond platform, but what's new is this Sense slide out. This is our Chrome extension. So this is going to be available to you as you navigate from page to page within TempWorks, but also outside of TempWorks. If you are navigating over to different, LinkedIn or something along those lines and want to text somebody, you still have full visibility. Our texting platform, as Pankaj explained, is quite robust. This is going to allow you to have a lot of flexibility as you communicate with your contacts and candidates in the system. A little housekeeping, I'll walk through what you're looking at since it might be a little different than what you're used to. So First of all, this Sense extension can expand and not overpower your screen if you don't need to. You will get all notifications in the center here, as well as up at the top. You can even include a sound. We also offer a free mobile app for you. So if you are away from your desk and like to receive push notifications right to your phone, you certainly can do that and answer right then and there. So I'm never leaving a candidate hanging or anything like that. If I am, jumping from task to task or running around, as our days get very inundated very quickly. On the left-hand side, you're going to see your active conversations that you have with candidates within the system. This is also including candidates that you may not have entered into TempWorks quite yet. So the beauty of this is maybe I was at a job fair and happened to speak with someone. I want to be able to have a quick text exchange with them and get them interested or just gather their information really quickly. They didn't have time to apply yet. We can still text with that person. And as soon as they get entered into TempWorks, you're going to be able to see that information automatically sync. So you don't have to worry about losing that conversation thread just because it happened before that person got entered into the system. In the center, you're going to see your main conversation thread with an individual. This is going to be fairly colorful, as you may notice already, and we'll walk through what those colors mean in a second. As I expand, what we're looking at here on the right-hand side, you will see this bowling alley load. This is going to be your upcoming conversation. So we showed this in a slide earlier, but this is going to let you be aware of what's to come in your conversations. When I navigate between our conversations in our section, I'm going to show you this existing conversation I have. Anything in purple is going to be a broadcast. So somebody asked earlier about the comparison between Textimo and Sense. Certainly with Textimo, and I'm not an expert, but it is primarily used for mass broadcasts or mass messages at a very high scale. We can certainly accomplish that as well, but the difference here is that we're also able to have one-to-one conversations and really build those relationships that your recruiters and your candidates really need to foster. That happens in these intimate conversation threads with you being able to understand what's going on. Anything in this dark green is actually something I wrote ad hoc. So if I needed to communicate with somebody and just type something up real time, that's the color it would come through. Anything in gray is the recipient responding. And anything in green is going to be that link with the automation that we talked about earlier in this conversation. So that automation could be an email that you're sending out, a survey, those NPS surveys that we discussed, but also text messages. We want to make sure all of that is in line with your existing conversation so that as a recruiter, I can pick up where that automation leaves off. So it feels as natural and organic as possible. From here, we can also send files in an individual text message and GIFs, emojis, and images if we need to. This allows our messaging to be quite robust and really accomplish a lot with a candidate without needing to necessarily have a full phone conversation, especially if somebody is maybe looking for work while they're on their other job or something along those lines. Here you can see we've included a benefits package document, for example. Our broadcasts, as we navigate through and we want to be able to draft a message to a new individual, we can do that very quickly and easily by hitting our new message tool. This will sync up with your existing TempWorks database, which means all of your contacts are already in there. But let's say I ran a quick search, as you can see behind here. And I want to grab those numbers and I want to be able to message all of those people at the same time. I can quick grab numbers from the screen, add them to my message. Our system will recognize if any are a landline. So it will recognize in red and you can remove them quickly and easily. We're lucky all of ours are correct and mobile friendly numbers, so we can go ahead and message them. From there, you can make your lives really quick and easy by creating your own templates. So each recruiter could have their quick templates that are quick and easy for them to communicate something they say often. So perhaps I have a new job opportunity available. You'll notice that we are pulling in specific fields to personalize those messages. A broadcast is a message to many, but not necessarily a group chat. So as people reply, we're going to get those individual messages so that I can foster that continued relationship on a one-to-one basis. And it still feels personal because I use their name and address them properly. I can choose to send this message later. This is different than an automation. On automation, we set up a proper cadence for our messaging. In our sending a message later, maybe I'm working with people in a different time zone, or I want to coordinate with some other event. I want to be able to send it 3 hours from now or tomorrow morning. We can also include a scheduling link. So our scheduling link is going to allow you to be able to have a great conversation with an individual. And instead of having the notorious back and forth of, are you free at 2? Are you free at 4? And so on and so forth until you land on a time. Instead, let's cut that all out and be able to send a quick message to our candidates where they can click on a quick link like I have here. This will pop out a nice little calendar for them to choose, and they can choose the time that's available and that they're ready to talk to you. This puts an onus on your candidates and really drives them being really the champion of their own success. And that allows really a higher result in them showing up to meetings and things along those lines. So let's say somebody wanted to meet with me on the 3rd. These are the times I have available. This syncs up with your native calendar. So if you don't want to have calls at 8 p.m. at night, that's no problem. Just because you're free doesn't mean you're free for every type of meeting. So you can really define, I only want to take these types of meetings, noon to 3 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Perfect, we can do that. We can also do shared calendars. So if you have a group of recruiters, somebody else could take that call. We can certainly do that as well. Jumping back into our conversation. We can jump into our broadcast. So when you do send a broadcast, as I mentioned, you're going to have conversations that are developed into a one-to-one as they respond. But it's good to know the success of your broadcast and how things are resulting. So what we're going to see here is I have my broadcast. I sent a mass message to my favorites list. Here on the left here panel, you can see the recipients. Who did I send this out to? Responses received. If I click on any one of those, it'll jump me to that conversation. And also our analytics associated to just that broadcast. So we can see a reply rate and a failure rate if we had some bad numbers or anything bounced or anything along those lines. So we can really see the success right in line. We can have multiple inboxes. So if you do want to have shared lines, such as a branch office, or you're covering for a colleague or things along those lines, you can certainly do that, as you can see here. And when I jump into those conversations, I'm going to see the active information. We can filter our conversations by newest or even by keyword. I can search for a particular candidate that I want to see the conversation thread. And last but not least, but everything is going to flow back into TempWorks. So on the Beyond platform, you're going to be able to navigate to the notes and messages area and have all of that automatically logged. So no longer do you need to remember to copy and paste the note or texting from your personal line or anything along those lines. You can have all of this flowing automatically, and your colleagues can really pick up where you leave off. If you went on vacation, you were out sick, you can still have coverage for your candidates. I'm going to check any of our questions here. Pankaj, I know you've been answering quite a bit as we've gone.
No, everybody's helping out. Justine's answering, Wendy's answering, I'm answering. So tons of questions that we're taking as we go along. So that's great. If you have anything else to show us, please go on, because I think we probably won't need a ton of time for Q&A, because we can just answer Q&A in the chat. So feel free to go all the way to 2 to 3 minutes before the hour. But if you're done, just let me know and I'll take over.
Perfect. Just a couple other things. I know we have one question I see right away. Does the message have to be initiated in TempWorks in order for that text to update in the employee record? No, it just has to be initiated through the Sense interface. So that could be in the Chrome extension, and you may be in TempWorks, but we're going to log all of those notes. But I could initiate it from my mobile app as well, because we are syncing up the data with what's in your TempWorks environment. And this Chrome extension is going to be available on your Beyond platform, but anything that we are logging will reflect also in your enterprise instance, so they are mirrored. So if you are using enterprise, I do encourage you to reach out to your TempWorks representative so that you can get access to Beyond and really leverage the tools that I've shown you today in a more efficient manner. You'll also notice the conversational context. So we talked about that earlier, but this is really where you can pick up where that automation leaves off. You can always be aware of what's going on. So if maybe my colleague is texting my same candidate, I have visibility to that. I know that somebody was messaging this person from another number that we have access to. Additionally, maybe I have this person, ending their assignment, or we've sent out a survey. I want to be aware of those things so that I'm not double dipping and asking the same questions over and over, and really not creating a positive experience for our candidate.
Yeah, Maria, I'll take a couple of questions. Deborah asked, tell me more about the calendar. We use Appointments Plus to have candidates schedule an appointment. Who is this calendar through? This is very much natively built by Sense. So this is completely our technology built by us. It allows you to do a number of different things that other scheduling platforms in the market don't do. So not only can it show, not only can it set up meetings the way you were looking Maria do it, but once you could also do round robin, which is very, very prevalent in a staffing company. So if you had 15 recruiters in a branch or 5 recruiters in a branch and a number of candidates were coming through, you can actually decide that the first candidate will automatically be scheduled with recruiter 1, then recruiter 2, 3, 4, 5, then back to recruiter 1. So not one person will get a lion's share of the candidates. But to answer your question, this is 100% our technology.
And just to show you how it works, if I wanted to include a scheduling link, I could have different scheduling templates that I want to use. Maybe it's a 30-minute meeting, a 60-minute meeting, or a team template. So I can switch off between a personal meeting and a round robin type of meeting that you may want to do. And all of that will automatically put that invite onto your calendar, as well as the recipients, and even send reminders.
Maria, one quick suggestion that I got was, can you talk a little bit more about the data sync?
Yeah, absolutely. So the data sync, what we're going to do is sync up all of the information and contacts and candidates that you have in the TempWorks database. This becomes available to you here when I'm drafting a new message and I want to reach out to an existing candidate, I can simply type in their name and I'm going to get that information for me to be able to reach out. This also means that when we're logging messages back into the TempWorks system, that's how those messages get logged automatically. We can have those come in as a daily log or even a text in, text out, although most people prefer that daily log so you aren't cluttering the message. But that's important for the data sync to be there so that you can have that messaging really in line with your day-to-day work. Happy to go into more detail, but
yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that we have a dynamic integration with TempWorks. We are synchronizing data pretty rapidly. So any software system that you are used to working with that sits on top of TempWorks, you're going to see a 4 to 8x increase in the speed at which we are synchronizing data. Oftentimes we can synchronize it as fast as an hour. So, 8 times, 10 times a day, you're going to see your data synchronized with TempWorks. So it'll almost feel like it is super live.
yes, so anything, thank you for that. So anything that's automated is also going to be synced up. You're not waiting for that daily log, but if you are having a full text conversation with an individual back and forth, we're going to consolidate that if you prefer so that you can see the full conversation per person. We do have analytics associated to all of our messaging. I showed you a little glimpse of that, but certainly you can also see your overview metrics on journeys and messaging, our success of delivery rates, and also how your team is leveraging that messaging. I'm just focusing on our messaging here, but you can see how many messages were outbound, our average inbound, even how many unique conversations. I may have messaged 100 people, but did I have 100 unique conversations? Did I have a back and forth with an individual? Maybe not. And from there, we can even drive higher agent response times.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Maria. I think in the interest of time, Sophia has launched a quick poll for all of us. And if you stop sharing your screen, which you did already, I'll share mine.
Some we're getting close to time here.
Yeah, so I just wanted to leave
minutes.
everybody with, well, first of all, thank you so much for making this so fun for us. You asked us a ton of questions. Sara, thank you again. If you don't mind coming back on video, we'd love to thank you again. So that was awesome. If there are questions that remain unanswered, please reach back out to us. You can certainly reach out to Sophia, but you can certainly reach out to me. Between Wendy, Maria, Justine, we will absolutely have answers to all of those questions. And then, yeah, lastly, if you'd like us to show you the product, if you'd like us to show you what some of our other customers are doing with it, if you'd like us to answer questions on a platform that you might be using today that is sunsetting and how easily we can sort of, shift you over from platform A over to Sense, we'd be very, very happy to do that. So thank you again, everybody, for being a part of this webinar. Maria, Sara, Sophia, thank you so much.
Thank you. And if you are interested in setting up a demo or learning more about Sense, please just reach out to your account manager and we can help make an introduction as well. Just a reminder, this is going to be recorded and we will get this out within the next week. Pankaj, Sara, Maria, thank you so much for everything. This was great.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Take care.